Ethical parasocial profit is not impossible. I don't think it is as difficult as some make it seem. And I think that more influencers, especially those on YouTube, should honestly take advantage in an ethical way of the parasocial relationships that they have developed and built and cultivated with their audiences. Okay, so in my last video discussing parasocial relationships, I discussed what they are, how they flourish, and how creators profit from them. Maryjane Byram was essentially my case study. In this video, in this video, y'all, in this one right here, I am going to be attempting to answer the question of, can you ethically profit from parasocial relationships as a content creator? And if you'd like to know what my answer is, it's yes, because that's how I started the video. And if you want to know how, keep listening and watching. So Maryjane Byram is a travel vlogger who has been accused of allegedly scamming subscribers and fans out of thousands of dollars. What is being claimed is that she offered travel packages and workshops to her subscribers and fans and did not deliver on them in their totality as advertised. If you want more details, you can watch my previous video about this. Now, to stay on brand and in theme, I will stay within the framework of travel vlogging. So Evelyn and Marley aren't travel vloggers, but they are large Black content creators here on YouTube, and they have hosted international trips. Now, here's what is different about their approach versus Maryjane's approach. Marley and Evelyn hosted these international trips with One Love Travel Club, and they profited from their parasocial relationships. The main point to take away from this is that Marley and Evelyn maintained the trust that they had built up in their parasocial relationships with their audiences, and this is why they were able to profit on multiple occasions through these parasocial relationships with traveling. Okay, so let me explain. One Love Travel Club is, I believe, Black owned. And if it isn't, it's very Afrocentric. I did do my research. It doesn't say flat out that they are Black owned, but when you go to their website and their Instagram, it's very clear that they are Black centered, very Afrocentric, and seem to be focused on the Black traveler. So One Love Travel Club organizes trips for its members, and the trips are designed to give members an unforgettable experience, exposure to foreign cultures, the chance to network with like-minded individuals, and the opportunity to volunteer and spread love to all parts of the world. All the activities are awesome and optional, except the volunteering. So with One Love Travel Club, something that you are, yes, required to do when you purchase a travel package with them is a volunteer opportunity. This is basically how One Love Travel Club pays it forward with being travelers and visitors to the countries that they go to. Now, One Love Travel Club is really great because they have payment plans, they have a flexible schedule, they give back through their volunteering, and all the meals that they offer on the trip are also vegan friendly. Now, that means they have vegan friendly options. It doesn't mean every single meal is a vegan meal. Just to make that clear. So about 5 years ago, Marley hosted a trip with One Love Travel Club to South Africa. 4 years ago, Marley hosted a trip with One Love Travel Club to Bali. And then 4 years ago, Evelyn hosted a trip with One Love Travel Club to Thailand. And then 3 years ago, Evelyn hosted a trip with One Love Travel Club to Kenya. Now, this is how someone like Maryjane could have, and I could argue should have, gone about starting to profit off of the parasocial relationships she had built with her audience, because this is a more ethical approach. I also believe it is one that would have made her followers more comfortable with what she was offering to them. Now, in some of the videos that have been uploaded, those who did go forward with paying the deposit and either went on a trip with Maryjane or never went on a trip with Maryjane, one of the common themes is there was a lack of communication about how these trips were being organized. It wasn't like people were being given an itinerary. There wasn't really a true cost breakdown. It was sort of just like, send me this deposit, I'll buy your ticket, you show up, we'll have a great time. Which sounds great because if you watched her videos, she appears to be always having a really good time and knows where to go to have a good time. And because of the parasocial relationship, you have built a trust with her. You believe in her. You feel safe. Maryjane, through her editing, through her content, and through her character, has made you feel safe. So you trust her. It's the same thing that Marley and Evelyn have done. They made you feel safe. You trust them. They are your big sister, your best friend, your cousin, however you want to identify them in your head. You have developed a parasocial relationship with, a complete stranger. And so now it's been, what I will say, speculated that Maryjane was gearing up to start her own independent travel agency, which, let me say, I believe that would have been a super awesome thing. And I also believe that it's entirely still feasible for Maryjane to start her own independent travel agency. I've said in my last videos, cancel culture doesn't really work. And for someone like Maryjane, who has such a large audience and following, losing a couple of thousand subscribers isn't really going to do that much damage, quote unquote, to her brand. Maryjane can easily pivot and rebrand herself and still come out with an independent travel agency and actually offer these travel packages that she first attempted to do. So when it comes to the ethics and profiting off of people who watch the content you create, the line can get a little blurry. Because the thing about YouTube, especially how it operates now, now we have super chats. Now you can become a member of someone's channel. There's a lot of ways to send a creator money through the platform itself. And then, of course, there's a myriad of ways to send your favorite creator or your favorite creators money outside of the platform. And more often than not, I believe, people refer to the money they receive from their following as donations. So this money is being accepted as gifts. And I'm using this language to help you guys understand what it is you're actually doing when you're sending someone money who creates content on the internet and in general. But once you send that money, it's not your money anymore. You didn't sign any papers. There were no agreements, right? So at the end of the day, all you have done is sent somebody a $1 donation, a $10 donation, a $1,000 donation, a $5,000 donation. You get where I'm going with this. You have sent somebody a gift of money. That's all you've done. So keep that in mind as I continue speaking. All people have done, honestly, at this point was send gifts of money. And that's why I think people are realizing why it's been so difficult in what has been alleged of Maryjane to retrieve these funds, because it's not like there was a real business transaction here or a true exchange of goods and services. Okay, so just keep all that in mind. So this is what I believe is the route that Maryjane should have taken before starting her own independent travel agency. One of the best ways to become an expert in something is to honestly work for someone who already is an expert in the field that you're interested in. So like Maryjane Byram, Marley and Evelyn from the internet have a very loyal fan base. and they're very deep rooted, right? They have these very deep rooted personal relationships with their audience. Evelyn, for example, refers to her subscribers and fans as cousins. That's a very deep bond to form with your following on the internet. Evelyn pulls you in as family. She invites you to her side of the internet as a family member, and she embraces you as her cousin, and then she never lets you go. She always opens with, "Hey, internet cousins." Okay, so of course you would trust her judgment when it comes to international travel because that's your cousin. That's your cousin. So she wants what's best for you, right? You will take a walk, okay, before the food is ready on the holidays and go, you know what I'm saying? Y'all know them holiday walk with your cousin. Okay. Right? So let's talk about what makes partnering with a third party, like One Love Travel Club, an ethical way of profiting from those parasocial relationships, okay? I probably should talk about what like ethical is. All right, so ethical, relating to moral principles or the branch of knowledge dealing with these. Morally good or correct. Avoiding activities or organizations that do harm to people or the environment. Ethical. So I've said it before and I'll say it again. I'm not defending anything that Maryjane allegedly did. I do understand how and why the ethics of her travel packages and workshops were questioned. As I said earlier, there was a lack of transparency, communication, planning, and I do believe that Maryjane was trying to do all this alone. And she should have, in my opinion, worked with the team to bring about her travel packages. Maryjane, even now, is very much in a position where she can profit from her parasocial relationships with her following. Like I said, let's be honest, cancel culture, like, it doesn't really work. It won't work. Like, I really think cancel culture can only truly be applied when a person does something so incredibly heinous. And yeah, if she did knowingly accept payment without the intent of following through with the goods and services, then that's terrible. But it isn't heinous. Okay, truth be told, it's not a heinous act. It's terrible, right? But it's not heinous. People have done literally far worse and are profiting today. That's not to excuse her behavior, but the reason why, it all kind of crumbled is because the ethics just weren't there. And when you're dealing with something like international travel, you have to think like, okay, someone's sending you money to book their trip and then you're hosting their trip. You are honestly, yes, now responsible for that person's safety and well-being. And truthfully, if something happens, it can and will fall back on you. Now, Evelyn and Marley were like, okay, I don't want to be responsible for those kind of things, right? I don't need people coming to me about their travel insurance, about their allergies, about accommodations, none of that. I just want to be the host. So I think that Maryjane should have looked into being a host through a third party travel company like One Love Travel Club and done that maybe, 3 or 4, 5 times, like a couple of times. Like I would say more than 2 times though. Like she would have to have done it at least 3 or 4 times, I feel, to really get her own knowledge so she could see like, how do people set up these kind of things for real? Right? Because her brand was not that she traveled with a group of friends. Her brand wasn't that she traveled with a different partner all the time, this friend, that friend, and the third. Her brand was she was a solo traveler, or her sister and brother joined her. And every now and then along the way, there was a friend or two. But she wasn't consistently traveling with other people, especially not a large group. And so I just think that it was a really huge jump to try and do that and then profit off of it as well. And the thing about parasocial relationships is the fan is always going to be more invested, truthfully, than the subject of attention. And Maryjane being the subject of attention, knew that. Even Minnie, Marley, and Evelyn know that. Here's the thing. For Minnie, Marley, and Evelyn, two black people, black women on YouTube who create content, but not travel content, in order for them to agree to partner with One Love Travel Club in this way, it couldn't be just because the money looked good. It had to be because One Love Travel Club had to believe that they had the kind of fan base that would trust them enough to travel with them internationally and to trust their judgment when it came to promoting a company that planned trips. Because here's the thing. Evelyn hosts 1 or 2 trips. Minnie, Marley hosts 1 or 2 trips. What One Love Travel Club is hoping that will come of this is that those who go on these trips will book again with One Love Travel Club. Minnie, Marley, and Evelyn don't need to be hosting, because at this point, now you have been introduced to the brand. You have actually experienced the brand. You've had a great time. But what beefed it up was you had a great time with one of your favorite content creators, one of your favorite YouTubers. So, of course, now you want to book again and you want to be a return customer. And then if Evelyn and Minnie Marley ever really wanted to host trips independently and not work with a third party, they now have a very good idea of how that works, right? They have a very good idea of how much time, energy, money, planning needs to go into it all so it runs smoothly. Maryjane did not have that experience. She'd only had that experience with planning for herself and maybe a guest or 2. And with those guests being people who were already used to her, comfortable around her, and knew, her little quirks or whatever when it came to who Maryjane is when she's traveling. Because my theory is we are all different people when we're traveling, okay? That's not saying we're better or worse. We're just different. You're traveling. Who I am in Spain, okay? Who I am in Italy is not who I am at home, okay? None of us are. So let's just be honest about that. So Maryjane, Byram, Minnie Marley, and Evelyn from the internet all had the opportunity to ethically profit from their parasocial relationships, and Minnie Marley and Evelyn did this successfully. Maryjane did not. But I don't believe she's incapable of it. I actually believe that, like I said, she really can come back from it and do it. And what I want you guys to understand from these discussions, from these, whatever, I guess you could call them case studies that I'm doing, is that I'm never excusing the behavior of the people that I'm speaking about. If one of the subjects has been accused of something, I am literally just providing a commentary and just working from a different viewpoint to just help everybody else see what else is going on under everything else going on. I don't want those things to be lost. Also, we're all watching things happen, and unless you are directly involved or affected by it, you're just a spectator. And as a spectator, you can do one or two things. You can look and not learn, or you can look and learn. You can do one of those two things. And I have been working to be someone who is a spectator that looks and learns, which is why I've been creating these videos and offering this commentary, because this entire scenario to me is one that I think honestly could be beneficial for all involved, including us, the spectators. Because Maryjane, in just a few short years, became one of the largest travel vloggers, one of the largest Black female travel vloggers on YouTube. And what we are witnessing now is what I'm going to call a rebrand. I'm telling y'all right now, just remove your frustrations from it all. I'm not saying be devoid of emotion, but just look at this analytically. Okay. Look at this like in a real kind of like clerical, like numbers sort of way, Maryjane ain't going nowhere. Like, Maryjane ain't going nowhere. She is still sponsored. She is still profiting from her YouTube videos. She's not going anywhere. She's simply going to rebrand. That's it. She's going to rebrand. I mean, can you be mad? Can you blame her? Can you really? Let's talk about it. Can you really blame her? The thing about the rebrand that upsets people, and when I say the rebrand, I'm not only speaking about Maryjane's rebrand, I'm just speaking about the concept of the rebrand in general. The thing about the rebrand that upsets people so much is that people believe it's a way of trying to absolve others of any accused wrongdoings or proven wrongdoings. And that's not what it is. That's not what it is. That's not what I believe it is. I believe the rebrand is just reality. It's the next step. It's just what happens. Like I said, unless somebody does something that is like a heinous crime, okay, like against humanity, they're going to rebrand and they're going to be okay. And Maryjane honestly has the audience to do it. She really built up a very loyal and faithful fan base. People still trust her. She still has 275,000 subscribers. 275,000 people are still deeply invested in Maryjane. Come on. This whole, I don't know, fiasco, whatever we want to call it, right? It all started maybe about a month ago, a month and a half ago. So we're talking about 30 plus days ago. And she still has 275 subscribers. Where do you think she's going? Where do you think she's going? She's not going anywhere. She's not going anywhere. So what you can do is use this. If you're a travel vlogger, use this as your opportunity to map out your blueprint. Shout out to My Tapes. If you're not already subscribed to My Tapes, please subscribe to them. They are producing amazing content on their YouTube channel, and they have a series called The Blueprint, which is extremely amazing. It's an awesome original concept that I think more people need to be aware of. So please go check them out. But yeah, use this as your opportunity to map out your blueprint. Okay, you're a travel vlogger. You're doing numbers right now. Maybe you're sitting at 10K. Shit. Maybe you're only sitting at 5, 2, 1K, 500 subscribers. It don't matter. If you have one person subscribed to you, you have an audience, which means you have an opportunity to profit. Just be sure that you find the most ethical way to profit. Because at the end of the day, profiting as a content creator, I believe, is always sort of a slippery slope because of the ethics and because of how money is given and how money will be received and how monies will be spent. Right? Until you really set up that like LLC of yourself as a content creator, you're just kind of accepting money as gifts and you're kind of doing whatever. And so Maryjane is in a position now where she can either completely shift and pivot her channel. And that's to say, for example, she continues to focus on travel. And it looks like she's going to continue to focus on traveling. But what she starts to do is slowly but surely integrate conversation and content around traveling with her. Something that she seems to be doing more is asking to meet up with people, introduce herself to people in the countries that she's visiting. I'm not going to say she never did it before, but I think she's doing it far more intentionally now so she can start building those relationships with people who are still deeply invested in her and support her, who still buy into their parasocial relationship, so that she can see who these people are, why it is these people are continuing to be invested in her, and to learn and understand what that can do for her in this position now and how she can profit from it. At the end of the day, if you're uploading content to YouTube, unless you just already got it like that and you don't really care, or you're uploading content to YouTube strictly for archival purposes, you want to make a profit. You're looking to profit. You are seeking a profit. And nobody's mad at you because pretty much everyone who's a creator on YouTube understands that that's the goal. We're all trying to reach our 4,000 watch hours and 1,000 subscribers to start earning money. We're all trying to get to that first $100 so we can get our first YouTube check and keep that money rolling in. I'm not putting no shame onto anybody's game. I'm just saying, recognize game and learn from it. Wherever you see the error in somebody's ways, write it down and learn from it. So to travel vloggers now, especially Black women travel vloggers now, I would say to you all, start thinking about how you all can pivot and profit beyond the video. I do think more travel vloggers should entertain hosting with third-party companies like One Love Travel Club, Gateway, EF College Break, like all of those things. Like, I think a lot more travel bloggers should consider it because it will give you guys an opportunity to see how you actually do organize a trip, what kind of like things need to get done, and how the profit is made. And I think that more travel vloggers also should be working as units. I always believe there's powers in numbers. And especially for Black creators and Black travel vloggers who are looking to make that kind of a profit, hosting trips is a great way to do it. It's a great way to do it, but it's not an easy thing. You know, it's not an easy thing. There's a lot of money involved. And also people are putting a lot of trust in you. That's another thing too. Like, you don't really know who's buying a package. So for all you know, this could be someone's first time out of their country of origin and they're only doing it because they trust you. And I don't know about y'all, but that feels like a lot of responsibility, and I would want to deliver in the best way possible. And that takes work and time and, to be quite honest, a team. But I'm going to wrap this up because it's getting kind of long-winded and everything. But yeah, I just want to say that I'm actually quite interested and invested in seeing how Maryjane pivots from all of this and what the next move would be business-wise, because she's not done. I'm going to keep saying it. She's not going anywhere. She's not going anywhere. We can either all sit here and talk our mess and talk our junk, and people who want to identify themselves as not liking her and being haters and la 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 can leave their comments and do whatever. But at the end of the day, it doesn't do anything. It doesn't do anything. It does nothing. It does nothing. It does nothing. You're just sitting there typing for your comment to get deleted and for nobody to read it. So what am I going to do that for? What am I going to do that for? Like I said, you can either be a spectator, okay? You can be a spectator who is watching and not learning, or you could be a spectator who is watching and learning. I know that a lot of Black women, Black people in general, but I know that a lot of Black women, even some of your fave large travel vloggers, are subscribed to Maryjane Byram, like, to this day. To to this day. They are still subscribed to her, still supporting. She's still making money off of them watching her videos, off of them learning from her and what she's doing. So, that's all I'm saying on this for now. I guess I do have to say this in this video. Don't send nobody no hate. Don't be strange. Don't be weird. Okay, just if you don't like somebody, don't say nothing to them. Okay, if you don't like them, be quiet. That's all. Parasocial relationships are interesting, and I think I want to do more conversations about parasocial relationships because they're very interesting, especially when profit gets involved and people are ignoring that. People are ignoring it. People are ignoring it completely. And we can talk about it. We can talk about it. Because we all need to understand the roles that we play in scenarios in this as well. I said in my previous video about this whole thing, I was somebody that almost did send their deposit and did go for it, right? But because I did not receive the answers that I wanted, I didn't do it. But other women did. And some did end up traveling with her and others did not. And everyone has their own experience about what did and did not happen. So at the end of the day, I think we should all try to be spectators who are learning and just being observant and honestly keeping, just quiet on what we don't know. I like to just sort of come here and talk and just provide a little bit of analysis and reporting on information that is publicly available. I don't really like to speculate. Too much. And I don't like to really claim that any information that I'm providing is the end all be all or the truth in a sense, right? Everything I've said in this video today is publicly available information that can be researched and Googled, right? Like everything I mentioned, like you can find through a Google search. I'm not really speculating here. I'm going off of evidence in videos. I'm going off of the research. I'm going off of what can be found on YouTube and Google. So thank you for joining me on this side. My name is Winter. I don't really have a name for what I'm doing for these videos. I think I'll just call them chit chats, but like, what are we chatting about? But I think I'll just call them chit chats, and maybe eventually I'll think of, some cute little clever name and make a playlist about all of these long form audio / video format analyses that I'm doing of the situation. I don't know, because you know what? They're not always going to be centered around Maryjane and what's happening. It's just that this is a good case study, and so that's why I am using that situation as the backdrop for what else I'm speaking on. So I hope you guys understand what I'm trying to say here. Thank you for listening. My name is Winter, and this was just, my attempt at answering the question of, is there a way to ethically profit off of parasocial relationships as a content creator on YouTube? And I believe, yes, there are. It just takes a little bit more work and a little bit more of a team, but it can be done. And today we focused on how to achieve that through travel and travel vlogging. So that's where we're working. But I think I want to do a couple more of these in other genres and niches on YouTube, because we have a couple of examples of people profiting, but not in the most ethical ways, but also in more ethical ways. So, Anyway, I've said it now 3 times. My name is Winter. Do what you would like after the end of this video. Okay. I will speak to you guys soon.